Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April the 25th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, okay. I try to do my best to give full disclosure, and I gotta say, today was a stinker, and in not an acute, adoring way. It was kind of a bit of a bummer. Had a lot going on, a little bit of trials and tumult, but I would definitely say the highlight that I just wanted to get into because it's so fun. It's so fun to be a part of the news and a part of life and the story. But like, yeah, I mean, and this happens to everyone, right? It's not like what I'm going through is some unique Isaiah problem. But the rent's going up. You know what I mean? And it was a bummer. It was a thing I had kind of seen coming. But I was hoping that it was only going to be like a $25 increase. And instead they said, oh, sorry, we got to do it to you. $75 extra. Sorry about it. And, you know, I'm more upset than anxious, which I guess is like a good thing in a way. That's the silver lining I'm kind of taking here is that like I'm so used to this repetition of being like a boiled frog, of just like, oh yeah, of course it's gonna get worse. That like at least I'm more prepared for it. Like, I'm not spazzing out. I did my usual check though of like, okay, well let's go on apartments.com, let's see what's up. And of course, the rent has gone up all over. It's crazy that like the part of town that I'm living in to like now see the rent almost like solidly in the thousands is it's just wild over that. You know what I mean? And it does go back to that whole thing of like saying that like there's almost like this gun to your head to be like, you gotta make money, you gotta survive, because if not, you're gonna go to the street, and then what's gonna happen to you? Because once again, like, I mean, just to reference some other shit we've talked about in this week, it's like, damn, they don't even want you to go to a shelter anymore. You know what I mean? They're like, or it's like, oh, if we're out of room, sorry, I guess you just have to keep walking until we tell you to stop. Or until you can't. I don't know, whatever happens. Like, that's crazy. Like, and this is life. Life as we know it. And it's like kind of always been this way, but we always just kind of find nuances and ways to make it worse, a little icky. I know I'm starting this episode in such a weird, dark mode, dark place, and I'm sorry for that. But capitalist problems. I will say though, I took advantage of my foul mood to eat my feelings this day, this morning, afternoon. Um, I had a like expressway style Italian sub from work. Just went ahead and bought that for a couple dollars. I was like, fuck it. And of course, it gave me instant heartburn, but in its own way, it was a little yummy. I also like it was so annoying. I was like trying to game on my little phone, and I was trying to eat. Right, I had my my Cheeto Puffs too. I bought those. My energy drink, I already had those. Those are like that's my lunch, right? And I just put too much like mayo and mustard on it, and it gooped out like on my hands, on my phone while I'm playing this fucking game. I was like, this is my day. That's so on brand for me right now. Love that. So that was like definitely the hell meal, but like, hey, it's fine. I wanted it. I asked for it. I ordered it, quite literally. Then I got lucky. Someone from maintenance was walking over, and of course I had to hit him with the "What's in the box?" because I really wanted to know what was in the box. I had a feeling it was food, and like even if I'm not gonna eat the food, I will eat the food through like the knowledge of like, oh, you have this food, show it to me, let me see it, like Pulp Fiction. Ooh, ah, and I'm gonna imagine what that's like from there. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just happy for you, and I just wanted to know. Let me in on the experience a little bit. I'm curious. But what my friend was eating, he's like, oh, these are African egg rolls. They were doing like some Ramadan celebration at my work. And I guess they had those left over. And they're like, hey, we like you. We'll give you some food. He didn't want said food though, I guess, because he was like, hey, do you want one? I was like, oh, hell yeah. He was, I think, a little upset that they were cold, but I'm a garbage disposal. So I'm like, yeah, it's fine with me. These are fire. They were so good. And I'm not sure what the meat was. I'm thinking it was some kind of shrimp, but they were a little bit of spice to them. It was really good. So I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then he hollers at me like not even a minute later. And I go over to him and he's like, do you just want the rest of them? And I was like, hell yeah, I do. So of course I devoured these like 3 other egg rolls. So yeah, that was just today. And then let's see here. I had burger, hot dog, and fries with kettle chips last night. So I mean, I've been eating. I've been eating a lot. I guess you know what? Let's just pile on. Let's just like fucking beat the brat today. Um, I'm weighing in at like 260, probably over that now after today. Which has really been bumming me out because it's the plateau that I'm at. I was like hitting 255, at the tail end of last year up until like, now. So it's just so funny, man. It's so funny that I find myself in like the same place a year or so ago where I was just like, man, I'm so stressed, I'm so upset, I'm so fat, and I was just so on my shit. And like, I was supposed to be turning it around, and it just feels like I turned it around so much that now I'm like 360'd. So it's stressful, That's where we're at right now. So sometimes it's just nice. It's just nice to talk about it and know that there's someone out there on the other end of this listening to me whine like I'm, Billy Joe Armstrong or some shit. And that's crazy. That's awesome. That's powerful in and of itself. And it reminds me that it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And another thing that reminds me it's not so bad is the startup. So I'm going to go ahead and get into that. I'm going to stop with the whiny, namby-pamby stuff, and I'm going to get into some real hardcore news. And it's not going to make me feel better talking about it because it sucks, but it will make me feel better because I know I did it. I think. I think that's the modus operandi on this podcast. I love that I can just talk and talk. And I really, once again, I appreciate you guys. I know I don't say that enough at the top, but like you guys are wonderful, and thank you so much for just being a part of this blog, news commentary project. I call it podcast. It's amazing, and you, more importantly, you're amazing. Okay. Also, there's a good amount of news here, so hold on to your butts. Let's go. From Al Jazeera, Burkina Faso's army executed more than 200 civilians. Rights group. So yeah, right into the heavy shit. Burkina Faso's military forces summarily executed 223 civilians, including at least 56 children, in 2 villages in February. Human Rights Watch, or HRW, has said in a new report. The mass killings took place on February 26 in the northern villages of Nanden and Soro, according to the report published on Thursday. The international rights group said the massacre appeared to be part of a widespread military campaign against civilians accused of collaborating with armed groups. So there's some like Islamic terrorist groups that are in this area, and they are more or less like a military-led government, and they're just like, hey, we are going to stamp this out with an iron fist. Like, we are not going to have this shit happen again. And so that is, I guess, how they chose to fucking handle it, which is insanely barbaric and wild. And I do hate using that fucking verbiage. I know that there's like fucking, white CNN analysts who like pop off of that kind of shit. But it's terrible. It is terrible. And I just need people to understand that it's like, as much as I try to grasp like ideological perspectives and where people's heads are at and like, what do we do against the Western hegemony? How do we survive under this fucking bullshit? You cannot stop, and you have to stop and say, no, whoa, hold up now. Like, don't get it twisted. This is terrible. This is jaw-droppingly evil shit to just do, and especially once again just as like a tactic, like to like make sure that this doesn't happen again. Like that, no, that it's never worth that. Soldiers killed at least 44 people, including 20 children in Nanden, and 179 people, including 36 children in nearby Soro. HRW said it interviewed dozens of witnesses between February and March and analyzed videos and photographs shared by survivors. It also reportedly obtained lists of the victims' names compiled by survivors and geolocated 8 mass graves based on satellite imagery from March 15th. That's crazy, man. Like, I mean, I hate to just talk about, like, the kind of sequencing, serendipity or whatever, but that's back-to-back days where I'm talking about goddamn mass graves. And no, I did not plan for that. That's just how that shit lines up, unfortunately, and it's very upsetting and very sad. Um, let's see here. I did kind of, they do kind of do a little bit of a breakdown that I wanted to read. Oh, here we go. The West African country is run by a military government led by Ibrahim Traore, who seized power in a coup in September of 2022. I do believe we have done some coverage on that. Feel free to, run my shit. Go check that. Get my receipts. Or don't. I mean, I don't care. It's fine. 8 months after an earlier military coup had overthrown a democratically elected President Roch Marc Kabore. Let's see here. Traore has focused on reclaiming areas controlled by armed groups, but the military has drawn criticism from international rights groups for cracking down on freedom of speech and intimidating critics as it struggles to contain a security crisis. And it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, these guys kind of rise to power on this thing of saying, hey, we are going to stop these groups. Like, we're going to, we're going to stamp them out. But it's like, to do these things where you then wind up turning on your own people, like, that just is never going to work out in your favor. You know what I mean? And it's just evil doing evil at that point. I'm trying to think, is there more? I mean, of course, the U.S. imposed sanctions. I guess that is kind of why I wanted to mention the double mass grave thing, right? Because U.S. doesn't hesitate after this kind of Human Watch comes out and says this shit, right? Because these people aren't our allies. These people aren't our friends. They don't like France. They kicked them out, so obviously they're bad guys. But, like, Israel did this shit. And, like, we're willing to let their investigations go on and on and on and infinite and take whatever they say at value. And what? Maybe we are going to sanction an IDF unit for some bullshit. That is a little bit of news I'm dropping on you. That's still not actually concrete yet, which is crazy because literally in one of these IDF units, they have their atrocities documented. But that's not enough. It's crazy how it doesn't matter if it's an ally. But, like, if it's someone you don't care about or an adversary, like it's a Russia or whatever, yeah, document them, chronicle them, sure, throw them in the Hague. But, like, not our guys, not us. We never do that. It's insane. But at the same time, once again, fuck this shit. It's monstrous. It's crazy. It should never happen. And it's scary that it can happen again. But let's move on. From Politico. Arizona grand jury indicts Meadows, Giuliani, other Trump allies for 2020 election interference. Back again. An Arizona grand jury has indicted 18 allies of Donald Trump for their efforts to subvert the 2020 election, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and attorneys Rudy Giuliani and Boris Epshteyn. I don't know why I said it with the accent. It was the only way I could really feel like I tried to nail it. So, yeah. The indictment, which includes felony counts of conspiracy, fraud, and forgery, also describes Trump as an unindicted co-conspirator. Excuse me. Ooh, that was raw and real. Defendants and unindicted co-conspirators schemed to prevent the unlawful transfer of the presidency to keep unindicted conspirator number one, I wonder who that is, in office against the will of Arizona's voters. The 58-page indictment reads. The names of 7 defendants, including Meadows, Giuliani, and Epshteyn, are redacted, but the document makes clear who they are by describing their roles. Others include attorneys John Easterman, what a fucking conehead of a dude, dumbass lawyer, thought he could just do whatever the fuck he wanted and fucking came back on his ass. Jenna Ellis and Christina Bobb, as well as Trump 2020 campaign operative Mike Roman, who's been just trying to do mental, judicial legal gymnastics with his lawyer, because he's embroiled in multiple shits, just like Trump. You know what I mean? All these guys are just running through multiple rings of fire because they stayed 10 toes down for that man. This is something I kind of been thinking about. I know I'm kind of doing it aside here, but I really wish I could just convey to people how much that, like, dude, I understand that, like, for Republicans, they feel like it's so unfair. Why are you getting our guy and not, like, their guys? Like, why won't you get Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton? Like, there's so, or Barack Obama, please. Why wouldn't you get them? It's like, dude, please understand. Trump thought he could defy gravity, and he's been the messiest man his whole life, his whole career. He's just made an empire of bullshit ass mess, and then thought I could flip it into a presidency. And you know what? He jumped the shark. He did it. He was right. But you know what? There's a cost to pay for that if you're gonna run such a messy ass fucking campaign and get yourself into so much fucking bullshit. Like, I've told people before, if he didn't even pay off Stormy Daniels, he probably still wouldn't have won and at least knocked off one of the major trials he had to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to me. And I know, I'm sorry, I'm going on a huge tangent here, but that's a thought I've kind of been sitting on for a while, and I wish I could, like, tell some of my, like, hillbilly motherfucker and so-and-so's, like, hey, man, like, dude, I get it. I know. Political shit is crazy. They all should be locked up. Lock them all up. But, like, this dude had the audacity to just skate on all kinds of legalities like he was untouchable. And it was crazy. We all watched him do it, and he's like, and we really had to just sit there and look at the camera like we're Jim Halpert, like, maybe this guy is bulletproof. Maybe he really is. But it's like, no, there's at least some kind of legal process he has to go through. Like, at this point, I don't even care if they wind up locking his ass up. I just want to see just this shit happen, you know? Let's make that shit a shake. Anyway, let's get back to it. I'm so sorry. I'm just in the mood to yap. Where were we? Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays, a Democrat, has been helming the aggressive investigation. Though she initially appeared to be focused primarily on the false electors, in recent months it became clear that the scope of the probe was broader than previously understood and swept up prominent Trump allies at the national level. Let's see here. Yeah, well, this is important. Mays is the fifth prosecutor to bring criminal charges over the sprawling multi-state bid and his allies, bid by Trump and his allies to upend the 2020 results. They talk about special Jack counsel. This is the part I wanted to get to. Michigan prosecutors revealed Wednesday that Trump is an unindicted co-conspirator in their own investigation as well. And many of the newly charged defendants in Arizona, including Meadows, Giuliani, and Eastman and Ellis, were charged in the Georgia case. That was another one I was referencing earlier. Ellis pleaded guilty in Georgia and avoided jail time, while Meadows, Giuliani, and Eastman have pleaded not guilty. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I haven't even mentioned Michigan in the whole scrum of this. Like, I maybe even just, missed it, but hey, whenever, we're picking it up now. So yeah, I'm happy to see these fucking chickens come home to roost. Is really the TDLR here. I'll keep you posted on this shit in terms of the indictments. God, I really hope, that they have to put Giuliani, his sweaty, fucking golem looking ass. I hope his ass has got to go to jail. He's a real ass right piece of shit. If he, I would love it. It'll bring me nothing but joy. I already love that this man's broke. I already love that he's in the same clothes as my fucking broke ass. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would love to see him in a cell. That would make me really happy. But let's move on. We have bigger court shit to talk about, I guess. We gotta go all the way back to the Supreme Court, man. Oh, man. Also, still speaking of Trump, this is a little bit of Trump side news. They are entertaining giving him some immunities, potentially. We already know we're talking of like a fucking, supercharged conservative majority here. It kind of is going to be whatever they feel. They'll give him that kind of partiality. I don't think they'll give him 100% of what he wants, but maybe they might make some carve-outs. I don't fucking know. I'll keep you posted if I hear anything major. I haven't yet. But I don't want to like do another aside because then we'd be here even longer if I covered it fully. So there you go. We'll cover that. But from Politico, Supreme Court wrestles with fallout of Dobbs, an argument on emergency abortions. The Supreme Court heard nearly 2 hours of heated arguments Wednesday on the tension between Idaho's near total abortion ban and a federal law requiring hospitals to offer any treatment, including an abortion, needed to stabilize patients in an emergency. It's the first time the High Court has scrutinized an individual state's abortion ban since the justices overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. And the justices were repeatedly confronted with the consequences of that decision, including stories of pregnant patients in Idaho being airlifted to other states. A few conservative justices at times joined the court's liberal wing Wednesday in asking tough questions that picked apart Idaho's legal argument that its hospitals should not be bound to provide abortions under the federal law at issue, known as the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, or EMTALA. So there's something about this case that really had me in the revelation of, like, we're going to be here 1,000 times over the same issue. It's like cutting a grape in 1,000 different ways and, like, dragging that course, that conversation through the, like, legal system all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they will have to take it and give an opinion, and it's so draining, it's so frustrating. But, like, we have to have these conversations because they said, hey, Roe v. Wade is wrong, and we should give this power to the states. So now we have to have this conversation almost like with every single state, or, like, whatever, like, niche kind of bank shot issue. We are going to find a way to just take this shit all the way up to the top. And it's so frustrating because essentially you're just seeing conservative, just anti-abortion, just logic just rammed through this whole process to be like, will this work? Will this work? Can we ban it this way? Can we ban it here? Like, because you're not going to be able to get it fully federally, because essentially we're not going to go that far, but, like, we'll go through as many individual ways to try to ban it as we can. And, like, the Supreme Court is going to flirt with this shit as, like, we want to make sure that we can get this across the board and you guys won't hate us for life. You won't riot or anything crazy. And it's just going to be this kind of just bullshit ad nauseum, and it makes me so sick. It makes me so upset because these people, they are supposed to be distinguished arbiters of law and order, justice, whatever. And, like, they just play this petty ass fucking games and just kick these, like, fucking laws around. And it's just so stupid. And I wish they could just fucking all quit. I like, it's not even like, oh, I just hate the conservative ones. It's just all of them. They all suck at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, you're forced to root for the three that are at least like, hey, these guys are on side. At least they're doing, like, things that feel morally more in line with me. But, like, this whole institution is just bollocks, dude. It's so fucking ass. Another point I did want to say was John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. They're kind of like potentially the conservative flyaways. Maybe they might come over to the liberal side of the conversation. They kind of seem potentially willing. Kavanaugh is also another potential moderate option. He's not moderate, by the way, but he, like, kind of plays like he's one on the courts. Like I said, I don't really want to get into the guts, the details here. By all means, you pull it up yourself. You pull up the fucking shit. You do it. I just wanted to riff and rap about it a little bit and just tell you how fucking disgusting this is as well. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that this is just how it's gonna be, and, like, it would just be nice to see Supreme Courts, like, actually doing, like, relevant things, like, actually solving things that feel good and, like, morally progressive. Call me crazy, but that's what I believe that these motherfuckers were doing when I saw, like, Thurgood Marshall on a fucking poster and shit growing up. But no, it's not. It's petty shit. This is petty shit. Congress is petty shit. Like, man, I heard I'm Just a Bill again, and that shit, like, every time I hear it, I want to laugh and cry. Because you just, once again, you're learning about that process, like School of Rock style, and you have faith, you have belief that a bill is going to actually do those kind of things, and it's going to be a good thing for you. No, it's not. That bill's most likely, if it was a good bill, it is going to sit there and die. Someone's going to take a gun and shoot it. But if it's a bad bill, it's going to get rammed through, no problems. I don't know. It's a joke, man. It really makes you cry. But, you know, let's just keep this fucking pain train rolling. I didn't even really get into that many details here, and, you know, I'm not even apologetic. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Oof. I need a drink of water. I'm sorry. I feel my voice leaving me. Look, love or hate Joe Rogan, I don't know how his fucking ass yaps for hours like that. He's got to be doing some cool drug for that, because I'll tell you what, after about 30 minutes, my voice starts to give a little bit. You feel me? It's like a little hoarse. Unless I'm like really, really drunk, then I don't notice it for like. Then maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's drinking a little, because then I can really, really yap. But normally I'm sipping a little bit on the pod. You know what I mean. Anyway, pro-Palestine students occupy UT Dallas building, demanding action amid Gaza conflict. This is from the Dallas Morning News. So I mean, it's really spreading. You know, this um, protest energy on campuses is it's not being sustained to just like Columbia or Yale. Another thing I wanted to plug a reference. I listened to a super good. It was insightful. At least I want to say that from the Daily about just kind of what went down for the Columbia protest, because I didn't know about the Columbia president. Literally, I think it was this week or so, she actually wound up going to a hearing and like finding out some of the details about how like she was conveniently, when they had that whole hearing that wound up getting two college campus heads like axed, she was conveniently overseas for a speech. But then eventually this whole hearing was going to keep happening. Like the wheels are going to keep turning. They were going to get her in front of them. And I know I should have her name already. I don't, but you can look it up and know who she is. But she had a whole war room set up. She was ready to go. She's ready to fight this shit. And essentially her strategy was to get in front of these guys and just lay down and say, hey, I'm doing everything I can on campuses. I am trying to keep people safe. Like, oh, there's a guy you're telling me he said some things that were really, very crazy and anti-Semitic. Well, okay, we're investigating him. And then like Elise Stefanik or whatever, she's like a person on this hearing thing. She's like, oh, okay, are you gonna fire this guy? And she's like, and she literally like hawed like, oh shit, I gotta make an executive decision on the fly. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll lay down, I'll do whatever. And I think there was a little preempt energy here of saying, oh, we know you're going to go and sell out, actually. And that's kind of what prompted at least some of the energy in Columbia being like, oh, we're going to do a full encampment here. We're going to set out and we're going to fucking say, hey, these are our demands. And I really don't feel like I did it well and illustrated that well enough. Hearing the Daily, hearing like a real team break it down sounded so much better. But like it did make sense of saying, hey, we are really trying to send a message here of one, our solidarity with, you know, the people of Palestine, but also that we want you guys to divest. We want you guys to stop supporting military endeavors like the shit that is going on in Israel. And that is what we're fighting for. That is what we are camped out here for. And I say fighting, but protesting non-violently is that. You know what I mean? And it's crazy that the conversation has gotten so warped to being like, oh, no, these guys are being violent. They're being evil. And like in every situation, you find like one or two like people of like, oh, there's a guy with a terrible fucking sign. This guy's a bad actor. This is not a cool guy. Like calling Hamas to be like, oh yeah, get these guys. Nah, that's terrible. But like, this isn't every person there. There are people who are Jewish. There are people who are non-Jewish. There are people who are just sitting out here saying, hey, we are not okay with what our college campus is doing. And essentially they're saying, oh, this is a hostile environment and we're going to treat it as such. But needless to say, it's not just at Columbia. It's not just at Yale. This is a spreading fucking energy. And it's made its way to Texas. I believe there was, let's actually get into the article. Let's touch it at least. About 100 pro-Palestine students at the University of Texas at Dallas held a sit-in along the hallway that leads to the school president's office late into Tuesday. The students' main demand is for the university to pull investments from companies that are producing the jets, the missiles, and the bombs that are being used in Gaza right now, said Noor Salih, a third-year student. Let's see here. Our university has largely ignored us, Salih said. We've taken our demands to their doors. That's why we are here, to take our demands to their doors. Now, of course, Greg Abbott was like, oh, I'm in head busting mode. Even though, like, if it's the right subject, if it's his, like, conservative prep project or some shit, yo, go off. Free speech, brother. But, like, if not, he will put his wheelchair on your fucking ass. He does not care. He can't kick you or anything. Like, his legs don't work. But, you know, he can hit you with the fury. Or he can have a cop do it. But, yeah, I think 57 people were arrested, 57 students. But yeah, I mean, there's also some more news too. I'm not really trying to dwell too hard on it. I know we've already talked about this campus stuff before, but it's just crazy that it's like it's more so. Also from Politico, USC calls off main graduation ceremony after Gaza protests escalate. So, needless to say, more shit's been going down at USC, other campuses as well, and they just said fuck it. We're just gonna cancel like the whole like more or less I guess ceremony, which is really sad. Getting a little bit anecdotal, personal. For my high school graduation, I didn't give a fuck. I wound up not walking for dumb, punky little reasons, and honestly, I wasn't gonna walk regardless, and my dad didn't care, so it was fine. But I always thought like, oh, well, if I go to college and did college, I understand why that, because you put in real money, real time, sweat, energy, like that's your fucking shit. And to have this shit, fucking snuffed out from you, it's very frustrating. It's very upsetting. But my anger and animosity is not for the people protesting. I feel like they're doing the goddamn right thing. They're fighting the only way they can. You know what I mean? When you see something so odious, so fucking insane, like this is the only way, the only thing you can do, and so you're asking. And also for the students at UT, they did get it. I think they got a sit down. Now I don't think anything's really going to come of that. They're going to give you the whole rigmarole of why they can't do what you're asking. But at least you're making some strive. You're making some ways in a way that I think is positive and effective and direct. Um, it's a shame that it's come to this and that this is the tact and the line that USC has chosen to take and saying, oh, for the safety, because we don't want to see people who are pro-Israel get booed. Oh, someone brushed a flag in their face. They got poked. Oh, because of that, we're going to just like fucking cut the shit. We're going to just cancel these activities and now we're going to take from you something. And I think that's upsetting. I think that's very unfortunate. Yeah, but the University of California called off its main commencement ceremony on Thursday after a week of canceling the speech of a pro-Palestinian valedictorian and hours after 93 protesters were arrested on the Los Angeles campus. So yeah, I mean, we'll leave the college shit there for now. I mean, I am going to probably try to keep you spot to spot. I know maybe I'm being a little annoying with this shit, a tad obnoxious, but it's news. It's happening, and I want to talk about it. Like, it's what I feel like I can contribute is my goddamn mouth. So that I'm putting it out for that. Sorry, I'm not though. I'll do it again and again. I'm in a mood. Ooh. Anyway, okay, we're gonna take our last break and then we're gonna close it out. But I gotta talk about the cutest little soda joke family. I'm sorry, man. Vietnam is hidden again, dude. But I get it. I totally get it. I need to preface that I understand. All right. But man, this one. Let me spark it. Ooh yeah. Ooh. Ooh. That's good. It's real good. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. From Al Jazeera. Vietnam jails soft drinks tycoon for 8 years. For 8 years in $40 million fraud case. Now, I'm kind of surprised at that because the last person we covered, which was My Line, granted, bigger number when we get into it, but like, she's getting a death sentence. And I know, like, that's still hard for me. It doesn't matter what the ideology is. Like, y'all know I vibe with some fucking socialism. I vibe with some fucking communism. But when we get to this conversation when we're on the block, it doesn't matter what we're fucking talking about. I still go, man, I don't think we should do this. I feel uneasy about this. Same thing when we're talking about arming in the whole thing. It's also hard for me to get on with these fucking things, but I understand. Don't get me wrong. I get it. Like, the shit has been washed over my head. I understand it, but it's hard. You know what I mean? Anyway, Vietnam's top soft drinks tycoon was jailed for years on Thursday in a $40 million fraud case. The latest high-profile business figure snared in the country's sweeping crackdown on corruption. The communist nation's wide-ranging campaign to wipe out endemic corruption has seen more than 4,400 people charged with criminal offenses, including officials and senior business figures. A court in Ho Chi Minh City found Tran Quy Tan and his two daughters guilty of scamming investors over loans issued in 2019 and 2020. Tan, the 71-year-old chairman of the beverage group Tan Hip Pat, was ruled to have mastermind scams to appropriate assets put up as collateral against loans, state media reported. Even when the borrowers paid back the money with interest, Tan would refuse to give back the assets on various pretexts, that's the word, including claiming they had forfeited their repurchase rights due to contract breaches. The court sentenced Tan's 43-year-old daughter, Tran Yuan Feng, the company's deputy CEO, to 4 years in jail. The younger Tran Nyak Beach, 40, was given a suspended 3-year jail sentence. Tan Hip Fat is one of Vietnam's biggest beverage companies, known for its range of bottled tea and energy drinks. So if I was in Vietnam, I'd probably be jamming on that. But that's unfortunate that they were doing the old, schemes. But I mentioned property tycoon Trong My Lan, who was sentenced to death earlier this month for masterminding a swindle that has caused losses estimated to $27 billion. I believe that was 3% of Vietnam's economy as a whole. I'm not gonna lie though, I was really hoping that like by this time I'd be telling you an update of like, yeah, they just rescinded it or something. But I mean, I will keep you posted. I mean, if she hits the block, I'll be there. But yeah, hopefully not. But like I said, I get it. Okay, this is long, and I'm sorry, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you for hanging out. And I know I'm crazy because I'm about to hop into shill mode and ask you to become a newsie. Patreon.com, so there's a news. You become a newsie today. And, maybe we do get enough people and I'll start doing shout outs again. You get access to archived episodes. So, like, that's a thing. That's cool. And it's like it's super cool, super fast line. I got a Patreon message. I'm gonna come barking. But no, I mean, I don't know. You subscribe, become a newsie. Don't. Free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me, contact me on any of the socials. I'm there. This podcast is there. Hopefully, the free ways to help me out outside of listening, which you're a peach, you're a plum for that. Subscribe to the YouTube. Really helps out a lot. Subscribe, follow on the Spotify or Apple for podcasters, whatever you're listening on. Hit that follow on the Podbean. Flick your Podbean for me. That's crazy. I should not have said that on an airwave. But yeah, do that, please. And thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.